WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. Big basketball doings this week, keeping us up late, and folks in Cleveland want to see a better series. I mean, I don't have any affection at all for Cleveland. I'm a Warriors guy in all this, but the games have been a little bit snoozy thus far. Michael Pina covers all things NBA for Vice Sports, which I enjoy very much. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at Michael V. Pina. That's Pina. He's up in Boston, Massachusetts, where he does a Big Three podcast and has covered the Celtics for Bleacher Report, now covering all of the NBA for Vice Sports. And boy, I think we've gotten what we bargained for in this series. I think Golden State's just a better team. I think I've always believed that, Michael. I had him in 5. At this point, I think we're all hard-pressed to figure out how LeBron's going to figure out how to steal one here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I had, heading in, I had the Cavaliers in 7. And, that pick doesn't look too hot right now. I expected Tristan Thompson to play a lot better than he has. I think he's been completely ineffectual on the offensive glass, and one of the big things that has killed the Cavaliers in this series is Golden State's ability to get out in transition, gobbling up all the missed layups that LeBron's had, Kyrie's had, just really easy opportunities around the basket. They turn those into, open threes in transition, layups the other way. That's been a killer. I don't know how you guard Kevin Durant at this point in his career. I don't think that there's an answer. It's just kind of, he's so tall and such a good shooter from basically everywhere on the floor. He can pull up. He's deadly catch and shoot from the mid-range, above the break. So I don't know how you guard him, and I don't think having LeBron do it for 40-plus minutes is a smart strategy. And, Ty Lue was smart in Game 2 to put Iman Shumpert and Richard Jefferson on him more than he did in Game 1. But I don't really know what adjustments you make if you're Cleveland. I thought that their defensive strategy in Game 2 to sag dramatically off of Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, and Sean Livingston was really wise. And, it worked a little bit, but there's nothing you can do when Curry and Durant hit 8 threes and the Cavaliers also hit 8 threes as an entire roster. So, I'm pressed for answers besides, play better, hit more threes, slow the pace down. But, yeah, it's looking like Golden State's going to win the series.
Warriors don't miss much, right? And I think we all get mesmerized by Curry and where he can make shots from. And every time the ball leaves his hands, you almost expect it to go in. And we kind of get lulled to sleep on the Durant thing. And we're like, wow, it's Golden State and Cleveland again. No, it's not. It's Golden State and Cleveland again, except Golden State has Durant. And I know you've written about this, about to eclipse LeBron James as the best player in the NBA. I don't even know if he's the best player on his team, to be honest with you. I sort of get your point from a defensive standpoint and from what he brings to the table, but as good as Golden State was in the regular season last year, and as much as the disappointment was there after Game 7, and they went out and got the best player available on the planet, that in this part of the world, Michael, people thought the Wizards had a real crack at him from the local angle, and meanwhile, you're up in Boston, we're in Washington, everybody's got their nose pressed up to the glass, but I'm not sure if the Celtics or the Wizards would have gotten there, and certainly maybe the Wizards would have played the Cavaliers a little tougher, but it's the Warriors' world, and unless they play like they did in the second quarter of Game 2, which is turning the ball over, as long as they get that under control, I don't know how they're going to lose.
No, I'm with you. Like I said, I don't know what the answer is to stop Durant. I think it's really interesting when you look at this Warriors team. What makes them so fascinating is that they have not really been challenged yet. Game 2 might be the closest thing. Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals against the Spurs is another example, but I think everyone thought that they would pull that series out regardless of the outcome of that game. But what you saw in Game 2 was Steve Kerr's return and the way he staggered Durant's minutes in his first stint. So Durant left in the first quarter, came back to start the second, which is rare in this postseason. Normally what we've seen is, him spend a majority of his time with Curry together, playing those two guys together, and then starting the second quarter with a lineup that hasn't really had a lot of success with Clay and Draymond, while Durant and Curry both sit. So that was really interesting to see, and that's like the closest thing to an adjustment that I think we've seen from this team. They also played Durant at the 5 in Game 2. and that was just really depressing for everyone who does not live in the Bay Area, I think, because that sort of lineup it's totally unstoppable. Durant, I don't think I wrote that piece about Durant eclipsing LeBron. The strong caveat there at the top is that LeBron is still the best player in the world, but if Durant, if they win this series in 4 games and Durant continues to outplay LeBron one-on-one, I just think that it can be a conversation heading into next year where I just don't know. I think Durant is already a better defender than LeBron right now. I think he's a better rebounder. There's a lot of different contextual factors that need to be put into play when we look at, the environment, the playing style, the supporting cast and all that when we're measuring these two guys up against one another. But you can't guard Durant. He's ridiculous. And we've seen, the pick and roll action that he runs with Curry where he screens and there's no defensive answer there. You can't really switch it because then you have Durant on point guard, and we've seen the Cavaliers try to switch that, and Durant just completely bulldozed Kyrie Irving. So it's a really tricky offense. You just got to hope they miss shots. Got to hope they turn the ball over. Just make boneheaded decisions, which is really rare, and that's your best bet. But besides that, this team is it's one of the best I've ever seen.
He is Michael Pina. He covers all things NBA at Vice Sports. You can find him at vicesports.com as well as at Michael V. Pina. That's Pina. And the co-host of the Big Three podcast. What's your podcast all about? Just all NBA, or are you just talking sports in general?
It's mostly Celtics, actually.
Okay.
So it's me and a couple other guys who've covered the team in the past, and we break down what's happening with the Celtics. I think it's a pretty exciting time for that team, obviously, with the success they had this year.
Yeah, we're very aware of Game 7 around here. We were watching. Yes, we know. We're in Baltimore, but the Wizards are piped in, and we're kind of Wizards fans here, especially when they win. They probably would have given Cleveland more, right? Maybe. I mean, I look, all the rest of these teams, everywhere, whether it's Atlanta, Toronto, San Antonio, Oklahoma City, Clippers, whatever it is, no one was going to beat either one of these teams, and certainly it looks like no one's going to beat the Warriors. Everyone was sort of playing for 3rd or 4th place at this point, and maybe that's inherently a problem in the league. I mean, to me, it should be a problem in the league that there's so many places where they just feel like they can't win, and the chalk part of this is less theater than you probably want. It hasn't been a great postseason for the NBA.
No, and yet you look at the ratings, and they're up in these finals from last season, and the playoff television ratings are up from last year. So that's really interesting to me. I agree with you. I personally enjoy watching the regular season from Game 1 to Game 82, and then every playoff series I'm locked in, regardless of kind of knowing that a Warriors-Cavaliers finals is basically hanging over the league's head like a piano, and everybody knows that it's going to end that way, and that obviously takes a little bit of the drama out of the action. But it is what it is. I mean, it looks like Durant is going to. Reports say that he's going to take less money this summer than he could, which means that Andre Iguodala and Sean Livingston can be re-signed with their bird rights. And I don't know, when this team is going to slow down or what, because, Curry's not even 30, Durant's 28, they're going to be really good for a really long time.
Well, the Steve Kerr part of this is also rich in what he's gone through and what kind of person he's been throughout his career, and to me personally, this year. And I find it very, very hard to hate on the Golden State Warriors. Even if they were put together and Durant joined them, and if you had a thing against Durant or Oklahoma City, whatever, right? I never hated the Bulls back in the day. I mean, I think the Pistons were easy to hate. I think it was very hard to hate on the San Antonio Spurs. I think LeBron has done so much in his career to make him such an incredibly easy villain and easy to have great disdain for. But, Golden State, I mean, I see them as something that everyone wants to watch, kind of like the fireworks, man.
Yeah, I can see that point of view, and then I can also see people who do not like Draymond Green, who do not like the fact that, or who think that Curry is boring, a boring personality. People who, uh, it would have been everyone. I think everyone can agree that it would have been much more interesting if Durant stayed in Oklahoma City for at least one more season, coming off that classic Western Conference Finals where he and Russell Westbrook really took it to that Warriors team and probably should have won. I think the basketball purist in me personally, I would have much rather seen that than the Western Conference Finals we ended up getting. But yeah, man, like I don't know. It's very fatalistic right now in the NBA. It's also extremely popular, and people do love the Warriors. They are, I agree with you, they are extremely exciting to watch play basketball. But once we get into like midway through the third quarter, and during the regular season, midway through the third quarter, and it's like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and there's just no reason to continue watching. So I think that's a bummer, but. All the star power here and just like the historical context of this potentially being the best team ever assembled, that's pretty cool.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that. Now, where does this thing rank on things we've ever seen? The Patriots are pretty incredible. What we've seen there. I think go back to John Wooden and UCLA and all the crazy stuff that happened there. But as far as 1 year, one team, one season against all comers to pull this off, if they can pull this off this week and win the thing in Cleveland, wow, right? I mean, I don't know that we'll ever see it again.
No, and I mean, to go undefeated, that's in the playoffs. That's unprecedented. To win 67 games during the regular season when Durant missed over a month with that knee injury and nearly broke his leg, to win 73 games last year, 67 the year before that. I mean, this run is it's absurd, and the scary thing is that this is the first year, which is what a lot of people assumed, that the first year is when they're trying to feel each other out, and it's probably your best chance to take them down, similar to what happened with LeBron when he went to the Miami Heat and they lost in the finals against the Dallas Mavericks. But there's really been no time here for the league to have an opportunity to knock them off. They've been excellent from day one, basically. And next year they should be even better. And it's really scary to think about. I just don't see them losing for the foreseeable future, and it's terrifying.
Hey, man, great to visit with you. You say terrifying. I guess terrifying for Adam Silver would be that someone at some point would come along to slay the giant. But I would agree with you. It doesn't bode well for next year, right? I mean, everyone knew last July this team would be the best team, and as we sit here 11 months later, there's nothing to argue with that. And it does create a problem in Washington when you're trying to sell we can actually win, right?
Yeah, and I heading into the finals, I looked at 6 teams that I thought could eventually take down these 2 teams in each conference, and the Wizards were one of those teams. But the variable here is just you need Bradley Beal to just ascend to a. I mean, he was great in the playoffs. I think he's a fantastic player, but he needs to be perennial all-star as soon as next season, potential all-NBA player. It's possible John Wall could improve, but, I mean, their ability to improve is mostly internally, where they don't have cap space, as I'm sure you know, and it's just going to be very difficult for them to get better. They don't really have any assets to trade. But if they get better internally and their young guys continue to make strides, I could see them potentially knocking off the Cavs. But in the West, it's like, you have the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they're obviously very far away, but you can kind of see a path for them to eventually be the team, just how they're constructed and the young talent that they have. They have cap space, they have draft picks. But yeah, it's it's looking like it's going to be these two for the foreseeable future.
Hey, man, good visit with you. We'll send everybody out to Vice Sports for all the good stuff you do out in the NBA as well as your Big Three podcast. You can find Michael Pina at Michael V. Pina. That's Pina, and the V for victory, which the Celtics had over the Wizards, as you all remember. He's at Vice Sports as well. Great visit, man. Enjoy games 3, 4, and if it lingers longer, these things turn around quickly sometimes as they get back to Cleveland. But I'm kind of with you. I think we've all seen the scale tip a little bit here. Thanks for the visit, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You got it. Michael Pina joining us here from Vice Sports. You can find me out in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere the internet is served. I will be releasing my book, The Peter Principles, out online all summer long at WNST.net. Chapters 1, 2, 3, I think 12 and 13 are all available right now, but I'm going to go back and edit them all up, fix them all up, release them all out, and let you know about it. They'll be out on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and, of course, we're always here streaming live on Facebook as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.